What's up, everybody? Welcome to a PlayStation Conversation. I'm Greg Miller, and this is the pride of Long Island, Colin Moriarty.
Yeah.
Colin, it's 2013, our first PlayStation Conversation of the new year. And you know what's exciting is that it's year 13 of what Sony called the 50-year life cycle of the PlayStation 2.
They did call it that, didn't they?
No, they said a 10-year life cycle of PlayStation 2, but it keeps on going. However, some news has come. What's happening?
Indeed. Reports out of Japan, Greg, which is a country in Asia.
Where Sony is headquartered, PlayStation headquartered.
Yeah, it's an island country.
Yes.
And they indicated that starting, I guess, immediately, Sony hasn't let retailers there know that they can expect no more new PS2 shipments. That whatever they have is going to be the last PS2s that they sell.
Yeah.
And we don't know. I reached out to Sony this morning to see if this is true for the entire world.
Sure.
Or if just Japan. But we don't have an answer to that
No,
yet.
still unconfirmed. Don't freak out yet. Don't run out to the stores, buy all the PlayStation 2s, put them in your storm shelter.
They didn't put in the storm shelter.
Yeah, where else are you going to put them?
Yeah.
You want to keep them safe, dry, sell them. That's how you get them on eBay later on.
Yeah.
Well, this is, it's sad news in a way. I mean, in one way, it's like, oh yeah, PS2, people are still making them. When they did the price drop, remember, there was a lot of hubbub, a price drop, and it was like, who the hell's still playing PlayStation 2? Why is this a big deal?
I mean, PS2 is big in, I guess, burgeoning markets. PS2 came late, for example, to countries like Brazil, in which it was doing, I think, pretty well over there, and actually the numbers were growing. And PS2 has such a great library of games that if you hadn't played, God of War or Rogue Galaxy or Dark Cloud or something like that, like you have a reason to go back and play those games, which was cool. Even people that maybe were just getting their hands on it. Of course, it was also a DVD player, which was the reason why
that was the big one.
It sold so well.
October 26, 2000, here in the States, changed my life. That was the first big purchase for me. It was my own money. I had a little money belt I had from a trip to France, and I put all the cash in it because I was going to buy this in cash because I was a dumb kid. Went to a Meijer store and camped out for 9 hours. To
buying cash is the smartest thing.
Is it what? What about the gold standard?
Oh, the gold standard, the fiat money.
Yeah.
No, I remember it too. It came out right after my birthday in October, and my mother bought it for me. It was so expensive. It was $300 by itself, but I don't know if you remember this, and I'm sure a lot of people out there remember it. EB and GameStop or whatever wouldn't sell the console unless you bought a game, another controller, a memory card, and a warranty. So it brought up the entire thing to $500, and my mom was like, I'm not buying this for you for your birthday. It can be your birthday and Christmas present and your next birthday present.
That's harsh.
And I was like, okay. And she bought it for me, and I had, early on, we had Summoner and NHL 2001.
Yeah.
And... Fantavision, Smuggler's Run.
Oh, Smuggler's Run, Silent Scope, Madden, Oni.
A few games where you were like, we told ourselves that these were pretty...
Oni was the one. You were like, this is going to be awesome. And you're like, this sucks, but I bought it and I'm going to commit to it and it's going to be great.
We had to wait a long time to get those games. But what's interesting, Greg, is that Sony had released some stats in a press release that I had found linked out on another website or whatever. And this is from early February of 2011 when they were talking about PlayStation 2 hitting 150 million units sold. So for a home console, that is by far the best-selling console of all time. The second best-selling console of all time is PlayStation at like 103 million or whatever, PS1, and Wii is behind it at like 98 million. So this has a 50-plus million unit lead. It's an insurmountable lead.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that at that point, 10,828 games were produced for PlayStation 2, and they had sold, according to these stats, over 1.5 billion software units, which is an average of 138,000 or so units per game made, which is a lot of games. And a lot of games sold. PlayStation 2, overwhelmingly popular. Sad to see production end. It had to happen. And of course, what does it indicate?
Yeah, I was going to say, what does this mean, Colin, that they're finally stopping production of the PlayStation 2?
I don't know. But some people are reading into it that it means that they're starting to use production resources to start creating PlayStation 4. Because obviously, they're going to have to make PlayStation 4's boards and everything, and all the internal parts, start putting it together soon. And you assume that'll actually happen before E3, and they'll probably have final product this summer ready to go.
Yeah.
We don't know anything, by the way, about PlayStation 4 yet. We're making assumptions that it'll be ready this fall.
Yeah, and you want to know the main assumption, so you stop yelling at us on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. Colin, tell me the big games that are coming out for PlayStation 3 this fall. There are none. Yeah, maybe Beyond Two Souls. Who the hell knows what David Cage is doing? That's the one big game right now, exclusive, that has no release date attached to it.
Yeah, we assume that'll be
Grand Theft Auto, Last of Us, everything, God of War, it's Sly, it's all stacked in the beginning of the year. So that you can spend all your money on those games and then start saving your hard-earned dollars for this Orbis.
And better yet, if you're a real hardcore PlayStation nerd like we are, and we follow all 13 studios that Sony owns, it's like, what's Evolution doing? What's Sony Bend doing? What's Polyphony doing?
Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch.
Come on, Nate Fox.
What's Naughty Dog's second team doing?
Yeah.
What's Media Molecule doing? And they only have a few people working on Tearaway. So there's all these questions that clearly lead to a PlayStation 4 launch this fall. So maybe that has something to do with this. I'm not really sure. I think it's them kind of being like, we don't really need to sell this anymore.
Sure. They're watching the bar graphs and the stats and everything. They know what's happening.
Shoes over there pointing at things
he's wringing his tie, looking at all these numbers, trying to figure out what's happening.
But it's crazy. I mean, San Andreas is still the best-selling PlayStation 2 game of all time, one of the best-selling games of all time.
Yeah.
It's been 13 years. I mean, in Japan, PS2 came out in March of 2000. So it's been almost 13 years. How old does that make you feel, Greg?
Makes me feel pretty old when I think about camping out at Meijer. I worked at Walmart all summer to save up the money for that PlayStation 2. And it was such a terrible job that I would reward myself by leaving Walmart and going over to like Suncoast Video and buying the DVDs for the player I wouldn't have for another 4 months. And I'd have Ghostbusters on my bookcase and look at it and like, I can't wait to see Ivan Reitman's video commentary on this.
So, RIP PS2. PS3 is still going strong. PS3 is going actually really strong now in sales parity worldwide with Xbox 360, and we'll see what happens with PS4. My spider sense, Greg, which isn't very in tune, it's not very developed yet. Don't hold me to it. I think we're going to have an announcement of PS4 in the next month or two.
Ooh, that's exciting. If that happens, and even if it doesn't, keep it here on IGN.com. We will tell you everything about the PlayStation and video games in general. But for now, moment of silence, and let's pour one out for our homie, the PS2.